Hey guys, I'm Sean Rodman.
Hey guys, I'm Nathan Gurley.
I play the banjo, the guitar, do a lot of the singing.
I play harmonica, DJ, keyboards, and along with Sean, do a lot of production in Moontricks.
I'm going home.
I want to know how you met. I wonder if one of you maybe has the first memory of that down pat. How did this melding of minds come together?
I think like the first time we actually met briefly was at Shambhala, weirdly enough. But it was more just like I was introduced to him. And then later on, I remember the moment when I found out he played music as I saw him playing like guitar and singing at a small festival that we were all at, and yeah, I was just blown away.
We were in the same circles there, and like I said, started jamming, playing, and Nate was always super eager and keen to pull out the harmonicas and do some playing, and we started playing more and more together, and at some point our paths kind of crossed indefinitely, and then and it was cool. Obviously we came from very different worlds in some aspects the same worlds, but it kind of created this cool balance together. I think that we both kind of complement each other's strengths.
When I go back out on the river, leave my paddle on the shore.
So you go from like campfire jams to eventually producing music together. Nate, like you bring some, production and like software knowledge into this. When did you think like, okay, we can take what we were doing at campfire jams and kind of mix it with, I guess, the Shambhala vibe, the electronic music vibe? Because that's something that, I mean, until I heard your guys' music, that's not something I'd heard much of before, if at all.
It was kind of like just a moment of like, well, what have we got to lose kind of thing, and let's just experiment with some things. So I had been like producing electronic music for a while because kind of grew up around a lot of that and DJs, Shambhala. So I started DJing so I could play my own music, and then eventually I was like, what if I just play harmonica on top of this? And that was kind of like the turning point for my entire creative outlook, was sort of whatever, let's try this.
Yeah, Sean, I mean, when Nate was like approaching you with like, yeah, let's try this. I mean, when did you kind of realize, there might be something here? Like there's a bit of synergy here with our musical styles.
Yeah, well, I think the Kootenays in general, there was so many bush parties like when we were growing up, and you'd head up a Forest Service road, and there'd be a huge set of speakers and full rave in the woods, and we'd all be together at these different events and things, so we were pretty like steeped in that culture. And then like I was mostly just producing folk music at the time, and so once we got together, it was kind of like just total experimentation. Some of it we were like when Home came together, the first time we played it at a bar, we wondered, like, what are people going to think of this? It's like a bluegrass, huge beat, and with this huge harmony, and people liked it. And so, we kept going with that avenue. And it's awesome, honestly. It's very liberating. I feel like we can do no wrong with Moontricks. It's really...
we have full creative freedom right now. It's great.
we're not really cornered into like any kind of a genre. We get to surprise people, so it's fun.
I've heard this term, and I don't know if y'all came up with it or if there was somebody else that said this to you, but boot stomping bass was this term that gets put onto your music. And it's true. Like the beats that you have to your music, it is still boot stomping. It's still it lives up to that electronic music festival vibe somehow. I mean, when y'all started approaching like the Shambhala crowd with this music, you know, do you remember hearing their reactions? Were they like at all caught off guard?
I think so. For the most part, it was all positive from what we heard, but we were definitely unsure of ourselves when we first stepped out there in front of people. And I mean, we had a good reaction right away, so that's kind of why we kept going on it.
And it's like what you said, they're two very familiar worlds that turns out that they go together very well.
You were both mentioning a bit about this this scene in the Kootenays, and I don't think many people realize just how how established and how organized this scene is. And you know, the electronic music, the bush raves, the Shambhala. Like Nate, maybe we start with you on that. Like, how would you describe this scene to people that have no idea about it?
It's a beautiful thing. I mean, I've been going to Shambhala since I was a teenager, and so I was attending many years before we even played there. And then I think we played there like 10 years or something. And how would I describe this scene? I don't know. I mean, you kind of just got to go. There's something about being out in the middle of the woods with really loud dance music playing and everyone rejoicing and having fun that just, you know, it's a different vibe, really.
Well, and the production is just like
incredible.
Like the artwork and the lights and everything that they've kind of put together every year is just everywhere you look. There's just this wonderland of lighting and art.
Seeing the progression of the culture too from back in the day to now is really impressive.
You're in this, I think, space where you're really starting to develop a huge following and getting more and more attention. What's it like now? You're about to set out on this huge tour, and it's hitting a lot of places that you haven't even been to before.
We started in a very small, like, you know, all the mountain towns surrounding Nelson. And we were kind of considered a very much, you know, electronic band, and we fit into that niche. Now it's like we're getting booked kind of half and half with like big raves and electronic music festivals. Also, we're playing these huge folk festivals, and it's great because at both of them we're kind of very different acts, and you know, we don't really fit into either one entirely, but we can play in both. So it's actually been really amazing.
What from what you're telling me, a lot, you're getting all these people resonating in these what seems like two different scenes, but there's more connecting them together. And I think the thing that's really connecting folk music and electronic music fans as well is this appreciation for being in nature, which I know being in nature inspires both of you, considering the places you come from. Sean, do you want to speak on that a bit? I mean, how does, you know, being in nature, being inspired by it, how does that translate to sick beats?
For me, I'm like a huge outdoor enthusiast. Like, I was up skiing all last week as soon as it started snowing. I've been waiting. And I think, you know, music comes from a place where you fill your cup, and when you really kind of are full of inspiration, you can sit down and pour it into your artwork. And you know, I think for us, that's kind of the main place that we find inspiration or fill our cups, is getting out and out into the mountains, out on the water, whatever it might be. And it does translate through into the music. I mean, our songs, we've got like mountains and forest and currents and all these like title tracks that are
not to mention like sounds of actual nature recordings in there that we've like took a field recorder and gone and recorded the stuff out there.
Yeah, that's sick. Nate, can you tell me a bit about that process? Like, why bother doing that? You could just find sounds in some sound library, but why go to the effort of taking a field recorder and going, I guess, into your backyard trail to get those authentic sounds?
It's fun. That's the simple answer. It's really fun. It's super, like, if you've ever worn a pair of headphones with a stereo recorder, it's really fun to listen to, and like it's a whole nother world that you're then just experiencing it through your ears. So you start hearing things that you're like, oh, we could use this that way. And
There's a really special thing about putting these little parts of your environment or parts of your life into the music, where like when you listen back, you
yeah,
can hear it. Like for instance, animals. Like I ended up recording. My partner's a farrier. She does horseshoeing, and so animals. If you listen to it, there's like basically a bunch of horseshoes being clinked together and like forging sounds that ended up recording out in her shop. And it's just little bits like that it's just kind of meaningful for us.
And speaking on that, I feel like both of you are very proud of where you come from and the places that you call home. A lot of artists, I think feel the need to like move out to a huge city and make sure that they're basing their whole career out of there. But it sounds like both of you have this very important link with nature and with your home. Like Nate, do you ever see yourself ever being away from home for too long? Like what keeps you coming back?
We always try to like do take breaks between the tours to have sort of time with ourselves and time with our families and time with nature, and keep your head fresh.
It's certainly not easy to live out in the middle of nowhere when you're trying to jump on flights every week. It's like I got to drive 4 hours to get to kind of the closest airport, but it's so worth it for me. Like I love the quiet out here, and it's just such an easy place for me to work. All my family's out here, and all of the like the nature and the passion that I have is just like out the back door. It's so easy to get on your mountain bike or head up to the ski hill or whatever. It's all so close and not too crowded yet,
If there's one thing that you want people to take away, especially because this show is based in BC, we're trying to highlight people who are making great music from BC. What is something that you'd really want people to understand about the Kootenays that maybe they didn't think about, like in terms of its artistic and cultural value?
I mean, I don't know. We're really lucky out here as far as like there's so much support for the arts. Like, artists, like musicians, can come through town and play to like sold out shows on weeknights. People will come out. So yeah, the support is huge. The environment is very conducive to writing and working. There's a music school that's in town. I took the music program at Selkirk, and it brings in a lot of music and art. So I mean, it's good food. It's good. It's got a good mix of everything.
I think just sort of like the unification. Like, I don't think that our music would have come about in the same way had we lived somewhere else. I think there is some amount of people are very susceptible to being open to whatever, regardless of the genre or the style. And I think that's something that it'd be nice if everywhere we could sort of just it's all music and it's all good art and it's all fun.
Through the forest of my soul, I'm saved my way. This road to hell is paved. Find my way.
So I know when I really like a song, if within the first 3 seconds, I'm already vibing to it.
Hey, I'm Rohit Joseph. Vibin is the new show all about discovering great new songs and fresh artists from across BC and beyond.
It's not one person dictating what good music is, it's the community sharing what good music is.
Stream Vibin on CBC Listen.